Hello, and welcome back to the Midgar Press. My name's Jay. So, last we left off, we had covered all the fun stuff talking about Riddermound. We went over the random events, went over leaving the mound. Now, let's get into the actual locations. There's multiple locations within Riddermound. I actually have the PDF on the right and I have the map on the left. That way, as we go through, you can see exactly where you are, where your players would be. So, locations. Number 1, the Burial Mound. A hill crowned by tall standing stones rises in a glade in the middle of the forest. The place is strangely quiet. However, you notice a faint but ominous odor, a protrude stench like that of rotten vegetables. So it's telling you that it is right here, the standing stones, the burial mound. It says underneath it is stone slab, a roughly hewn, square-shaped slab of stone, 2 by 2 meters in size, is embedded in the earth at the top of the hill. It has been slightly moved from its original position, and a small gap on one side reveals some form of cavity underneath it. The stone slab is heavy, but pushing it aside requires no die roll. So doesn't really matter what their strength is, doesn't really matter if you want them to roll or not. They are able to push it with no die. Dice, as they say. Tracks and droppings. Clear footprints can be seen in the grass of the hill. A player character who succeeds with a bushcraft roll also identifies small piles of wolf droppings and goblin excrement. The odor is coming from the latter. So, where in the description of the burial mound, we talked about a putrid smell that smells like rotten vegetables, it's coming from the goblins and the wolves. Because they don't give no shits, no pun intended. Number 2, this is the shaft. So that 2 by 2 meter stone that was at the top of the burial mound, that's where this is, the shaft. An underground shaft opens beneath the stone slab. No bottom can be seen. A musty smell of stale air and dried up corpses rises from the depths. So this is a long fall. It's 5 meters to the bottom of the shaft. So every meter is 3 feet, 3.3 feet, give or take, a decimal or two. So, 5, that's going to be, roughly 16 feet, somewhere in there, 17 maybe, I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. Each player character must make a acrobatics roll to climb down. A rope gives a boon to the roll. On a failure, the player character falls as per the rules on page 53 in the rulebook. Vaulted cave. If the player characters drop a torch or similar light source into the shaft, they can see that it leads down into a vaulted earthen cave with some form of doorway in the northern wall. So I always like to, if the player characters decide to drop a torch, I always give them an odds or evens roll, where if they say odds and it lands on odds, if it lands on what they call it, it basically runs, or it goes out. Now they can relight it, of course, but I like to mess with the characters or the players and just say that it goes out. 3, the antechamber. A dome-shaped chamber with a floor of beaten earth. In the darkness far above, the opening to the surface looks like a faint glowing square. In the north wall is a set of double oak doors with iron fittings. A silvery symbol stretches across both doors, which are flanked by statues of knights in antiqued armor. So specifically, this is where we are. We've got 2 statues and then double oak doors with iron fittings. Now, where your player characters land is directly in the middle of the room. Because it's vaulted and everything like that, that's where they land. So, forced oak door. The goblins have already opened the oak door, which is slightly ajar when the player characters arrive. So not only was the stone above slightly ajar, but so is this door. So it's showing the player characters that there's something down here. They don't know what. They have an idea, but they don't know what. Stylized crown. A successful Myth and Legends roll identifies the symbol on the door as a stylized crown from the ancient time when the Misty Veil was ruled by a mighty dragon-worshipping kingdom. Tracks in the dirt. And because this is a earthen floor, lots of footprints and drag marks can be seen in the dirt floor. And now, green is good stuff. It's more of like identifiers. It's to let you know something in descriptive. Red is not so good. Red could be bad. Sleeping bats. A cauldron, which a cauldron is 100, just so y'all know. It's like a swarm. A cauldron of vampiric bats hangs in clusters from the chamber's ceiling. Detecting them requires a passive awareness roll, which in turn makes it possible to sneak past them. If this fails, the bats attack. For stats, see page 99 in the rulebook. Yeah, a lot of my parties when I've run Riddermound, because like I said, I've run it 7 times, a lot of the parties have problems with the vampiric bats. I love vampiric bats. They are awesome. Goblin Poison Dagger. A player character who makes a spot hidden roll finds a curved goblin dagger in the dirt. The blade is coated with lethal viper venom with potency 9. And then direction. North. Double doors leading to the mound tunnels, number 4. And this is one thing that I really enjoy about Free League and their design of the descriptions for the rooms, because it tells you your only options. North. Double doors leading to the tunnel mouths. When we get to the next one, it's not going to tell us that because we have the tunnels that they'll go pretty much everywhere, but I'll show you once we get to other rooms. So, mound tunnels. A dark, damp tunnel through packed earth that branches off in different directions. The air is chilly and filled with musty smells. Slithering roots, worms, and centipedes are hanging like stalactites from the ceiling and make the ground slippery. So events, random event, roll d12 on the table of page 34 for each stretch of time the characters spend there. And we actually do have directions. We've got north, south, east, west. So north, opening to the guardhouse, number 7. East, damp earthen tunnel to the family crypt, number 6. South, double doors leading to the antechamber, number 3, that we just came through. And then west, damp earthen tunnel to the servant's crypt, number 5. So we're going to go ahead and look at number 5 because that's the next thing on here. It says servant's crypt, a dark and damp chamber. Dugout burial niches cover the walls from floor to ceiling. Broken skeletons, moldered rags, and shards of crushed pottery can be seen all over the place. It's definitely been vandalized. The crypt has clearly been visited by grave robbers. Skeletons have been dragged onto the floor. Jars have been crushed and clothes slashed. Locked porticuses. A porticus blocks the passage to the ladies' hall. Number 8. A broken key is stuck in the lock and the porticus is impossible to unlock. It has an arm rating of 10, but can be forced by inflicting 30 points of damage or casting a spell, such as Pillar, but such noise will immediately attract the Barrow Wight. I, for all intents purposes, allow my players to make noise, obviously, for obvious reasons. But there's a hidden goblin Hiding behind the skeletal remains in one of the burial niches closest to the floor is a hyperventilating goblin named Grub. The player characters must search the niches specifically or make a spot hidden roll to discover the last remaining survivor of Maladuke's expedition. Random event, roll the d12 on the page 34 for every full stretch of time spent here. And it tells you, random event, roll d12 on the table for north, damp earthen tunnel that leads to the east, damp earthen tunnel that turns east toward the ladies' hall, number 8, locked by a locked porticus. South, damp earthen tunnel that turns east toward the mound tunnels. And a little bit of information about Grub. So Grub's help. Poor Grub is scared out of his wits, and his only aim is to get out of the mound alive. His first impulse is to run, but if the player characters can persuade him to calm down, he is willing to help them. Having observed the White's movements, he can inform them that as he moves unhindered throughout the mound, but seems unwilling to pass through the oak door leading to the antechamber. Number 3. Grub has also taken a rusty iron ring with 3 large iron keys, 2 intact and 1 broken, from the guardhouse. Number 7. The rest of the broken key is stuck in the door of number 5, which would be the room that they're in. The other 2 portcullises in number 6 and number 7 only have lock. In number 6 can be opened with the key. And then down here, we've got some information on Grub. So Grub is a goblin. Grub the goblin is a pitiful sight. Dirty, wild-eyed, and panting hysterically. He wears battered and broken leather armor and reeks of fear and goblin bodily fluids. Movement is 12. Damage bonus is agility plus a d4. Armor is leather, so armor rating of 1. His HP is 9. His skills, awareness 10, evade 12, and sneaking 14. Weapons, short sword is skill level 12, damage d10. Short bow is skill level 10, damage d10. So the couple times that they've encountered Grub in my games, Grub runs. Grub runs fast, but Grub doesn't survive. It's unfortunate, but it happens. Oh, and we're going to wait to cover 6. We've got 6, 7, 8, and 9 left. We're going to cover those on the next episode. I'm trying to keep these short because I know long videos can be cumbersome sometimes. So go ahead, like this video, subscribe as always, check the bells to get notifications, and comment down below what excites you about Grub. What kind of interesting things could Grub do by chance? Typically Grub just dies in my games, but I'm always open to suggestions. So until next time, my fellow nerds, live on and game on.